My son looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Mother, you're too old and useless now. We can't have you around anymore." Oh, those words cut deeper than any knife, slicing through my heart like it was butter left out too long. I stood there in my own kitchen, the one I scrubbed clean for 30 years, where I raised him from a squalling baby to the man he thought he was, and I couldn't breathe for the pain of it. My Robert, my only boy left after his father went to the grave, stood there with his wife Clara behind him, her lips curled in that fake smile she always wore, the kind that hit a snake's heart. They'd been whispering for weeks, I knew it, plotting in corners of my house, but I never dreamed it'd come to this. "We've decided," he said, his voice cold as a winter wind off the lake. "You're going to the old folks' home. It's for your own good." My own good? What a lie. What a cruel, bitter lie. I'd cooked their suppers, mended their clothes, watched their children while they gallivanted around, and this was my reward. To be called useless, to be thrown out like yesterday's scraps. That day is burned into me, clear as a photograph. The sun was high, streaming through the window, catching dust in the air, but all I felt was darkness. My granddaughter Emma, sweet thing, only 10, tugged at my skirt and whispered, "Grandma, don't go," her eyes big and wet, but Clara shushed her sharp, like a whip cracking. "It's time, Mother," Robert said, grabbing my arm like I was some child to be led. I yanked back, my hands trembling, but I held my tears. I wouldn't let them see me break, not then, not ever. Inside, though, I was screaming, howling like a storm trapped in my chest. How could he do this to me? I gave him everything, my youth, my strength, my love. When his father died, I worked 2 jobs, scrubbing floors until my knees bled, sewing late into the night, just so he could go to school, become the big man he thought he was. And Clara, oh, she slithered into our family with her city ways, turning him against me slow like poison in a well. She wanted my house, my savings, every brick and penny I'd earned. I saw it in her eyes that day, greedy as a crow. They drove me to that place, the home for old folks, with its white walls and that medicine smell that choked the air. "You'll be happy here," Robert said, signing papers without a glance my way. Happy? It was like being buried alive, locked in a box with no key. The nurse took my bags and they left. No hug, no real goodbye, just their backs walking away. I sat in that tiny room on a bed that wasn't mine, staring at walls bare as my heart felt. The pain hit then, not just the betrayal but the loneliness like a shadow swallowing me whole. I lay awake that night, thinking of the times I held Robert when he was scared, sang him songs to chase away nightmares. And now he'd locked me away, called me useless. Useless? Me, who survived wars, raised a family, never once complained. Anger sparked then, small but hot, like a coal in dry grass. I whispered to the dark, "They think I'm done, but I'm not. I'll show them what useless means." Days crawled by, and I heard nothing from them. No calls, no visits, just silence that rang in my ears. I walked the halls, seeing other old folks like me, forgotten, left to wilt. One lady, Mrs. Johnson, told me over weak tea how her children sold her house while she was sick, left her with nothing. "They think we're weak," she said, voice trembling. I nodded, feeling that spark grow. My son and Clara, they were probably laughing in my house, changing locks, inviting friends to gawk at their new prize. I imagined them spending my savings, my little nest egg from years of pinching pennies, on fancy trips, new dresses for her. It burned. Oh, it burned like acid. But pain can turn to something else, you know. I remembered my grandmother's stories, old recipes for herb mixtures that could make folks regret, tricks to settle scores quiet. Not murder, no, but something slower, sharper. Justice, my kind of justice. I started a journal, hidden under my mattress, writing every hurt they gave me. How Robert forgot my last birthday, how Clara sneered at my cooking, calling it old-fashioned. Useless, they said. But I wasn't useless. I was patient. I watched the others here, learning who might help, who had secrets like mine. Mr. Hale, a retired lawyer, sharp as ever at 80, talked about wills and how families steal. "You can fight back," he whispered in the garden one day. Fight back? Oh yes. I wouldn't just sit here and fade. I'd plan, I'd wait, I'd strike. The betrayal wasn't the end. It was the start of something they couldn't dream. My heart ached, but it beat stronger each day. They thought they'd won, but they were so wrong. As months passed, the isolation sank deeper, but it sharpened me too. I recalled their routines, their weaknesses. Robert's pride, too stubborn to admit fault. Clara's vanity, always needing praise. Their children, innocent, caught in the middle. I wouldn't hurt the little ones, but I'd make them see their parents' truth. I sent anonymous letters to neighbors, hinting at Robert's old tax cheats, things I knew from helping with his papers years ago. Small seeds, just to stir doubt. At night I'd smile, feeling power creep back. They called me useless. I'd show them. The pain never left, but it fueled me. I ate alone, remembering family dinners, laughter gone now. I practiced what I'd say if I faced them. You thought I was nothing? Watch me now. But I stayed quiet, played the frail old lady. Inside I was a storm waiting to break. That storm inside me, it was growing, but oh, those first nights in that home. The loneliness wrapped around me tighter than any blanket, squeezing until I could hardly breathe. I was still reeling from Robert's words. Useless, he called me, my own son, and the way Clara's eyes gleamed when they drove me away from my home. Sitting there in that tiny room with its hard bed and bare walls, I felt the weight of their betrayal settle into my bones. The silence was the worst, louder than any scream, pressing in until I thought I'd break. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my silent tears soaking the pillow, each one carrying a memory of what I'd lost. I saw Robert as a boy, clinging to me when thunder scared him, his little hands trusting mine. Now he'd turned on me, locked me away like I was nothing. The pain wasn't just in my heart. It was everywhere, in my trembling hands, my shallow breaths, my soul that felt like it was fraying at the edges. I'd sit by the window in that room, looking out at a patch of dead grass, and think about my house, with its warm kitchen, my roses in the garden red and proud. I heard from Lily, the nurse with kind eyes, that Clara tore those roses out the week I left, paved them over for a patio to show off at her parties. A patio! With my money, my savings, I scraped together over years of sacrifice. Lily whispered it to me one day while fixing my bed, her voice low. "They're spending big, Mrs. Margaret. New car, new furniture." Every word was a fresh cut, knowing they were living high while I was here, forgotten. I'd clutch my hands together, nails digging into my palms. Sometimes I'd hear about Emma and Tommy through Lily. She'd sneak me news. Emma asked about me, cried when told I was better off here. That broke me anew, knowing my girl missed me. I'd picture her reading stories we loved, her voice soft like mine used to be. I promised myself she'd see me strong again. The loneliness taught me something. I didn't need their love to fight. I loved myself enough, knew my worth even if they didn't. I remembered my grandmother's words. A woman's strength is in her silence. I was silent now, but not weak. I'd lie awake, tears drying, and think of their weaknesses. Robert's pride, Clara's need for everyone to love her. I could use that. I started small, asking Lily to mail a letter to a neighbor, hinting at Robert's old tax tricks. Just curious, I'd say, but it was a seed planted. In the dark, I'd smile, feeling the storm inside shift to something else. Purpose. One night, staring at the moon, I felt it. I wasn't just a victim. I was Margaret, who'd survived hard times before. I'd been alone then too, after my husband died, but I'd fought through. This was no different. I whispered to the dark, "They think I'm broken, but I'm building something new." The tears stopped coming as often, replaced by a quiet strength. I'd make them regret every word, every lie. The loneliness was still there, heavy, but it was shaping me, making me ready for what came next. That night, with the moon hanging low and my tears finally drying, I felt something shift inside me, like a log catching fire after smoldering too long. The loneliness was still there, heavy as a winter coat, but it wasn't just crushing me anymore. It was forging me, making me stronger, sharper, like a blade honed slow over a whetstone. I wasn't just Margaret, the old woman they called useless, crying silent tears in a dark room. I was Margaret, who'd raised a boy alone, who'd scrubbed floors until my hands bled, who'd survived wars and heartbreak, and never once let the world break me. Robert and Clara thought they'd snuffed me out, locked me away in this home with its cold walls and medicine smell, but they didn't know the fire starting in my chest, burning hotter with every memory of their betrayal. I whispered to the dark, "You think I'm done? Oh, I'm just beginning." I lay there, the pillow still damp from earlier tears, and I started remembering who I was before they tried to erase me. I was the woman who kept a family fed when my husband's heart gave out, leaving me with a toddler and a pile of bills. I'd worked nights at the diner, pouring coffee for truckers, then days at the sewing shop, stitching until my fingers cramped, all to put Robert through school. I'd gone hungry some nights so he could have seconds, smiled through it so he'd never know. And now he stood in my kitchen, and called me useless? The gall of it, the cruelty, it lit that fire brighter. Clara, with her fake tears and fancy nails, nodding behind him like she cared about my health, my foot. She wanted my house, my savings, my life, and he let her take it. But I wasn't gone yet. I'd show them what a woman like me could do when pushed too far. That fire wasn't just anger, it was purpose, waking me up like a slap to the face. I stopped feeling sorry for myself, stopped letting the loneliness win. Instead, I used it, let it sharpen my mind. I'd sit by that window in the mornings, watching the dead grass outside, and think about their weaknesses. Robert, so proud of his big job at the factory, always bragging about being the boss. I knew things he didn't think I remembered, like how he'd lied on his resume years ago, fudging dates to hide a year he'd spent gambling away money we didn't have. I helped him write that resume, sat up late typing it while he slept, because I believed in him. Now that knowledge was a weapon. Clara, oh, she was vain, always needing people to admire her, posting pictures online of her perfect life. I'd heard from Lily, my nurse friend, that Clara was cozying up to the neighbor man, Mr. Dawson, coming home late with perfume that wasn't hers. Was it true? I didn't know yet, but I'd find out. Truth was better than lies for what I had in mind. I started talking to folks in the home, careful at first, like feeling my way in the dark. Mr. Hale, the old lawyer with eyes sharp as a hawk, was my first real ally. We'd sit in the common room pretending to play checkers, but really whispering about fighting back. "You own that house still, Margaret?" he asked one day, moving a checker slow to keep the nurses from noticing. I nodded. They hadn't tricked me into signing it over, not yet, though I bet Clara was trying. "Then you've got power," he said, his voice low and steady. "Families like that, they think they can steal, but the law says different." Law? That word sparked something. He told me about elder abuse laws, about anonymous complaints to social services, to the tax folks. "Your son's company," he said, "bet they cut corners. Report it, no name attached." I remembered Robert's stories about hiring workers, cheap, off the books. Oh, that was something I could use. I whispered back, "Tell me how." And he did, teaching me about letters that could start investigations without pointing to me. "You're not weak, Margaret," he said, smiling. "You're a force, a force." I liked that. Lily was next, my sweet nurse who saw the hurt in my eyes from the start. She'd bring me tea late at night, sit on my bed and listen. "Mrs. Margaret, you don't deserve this," she'd say, her voice soft but angry. I told her more, bit by bit, about Robert's words, Clara's greed. Her eyes got wide then hard. My dad did my mom like that, she said. Took everything and left. I'll help you. Help? Oh, that was music to my ears. She had a car, could go places I couldn't, make calls from outside so no one traced them back. One day, she brought me a little phone, cheap and hidden in a sock. Use it careful, she said. I hugged her, my hands shaking, not from weakness but excitement. With that phone, I could reach out. Old neighbors, friends, people who'd talk without knowing why. Lily saw my strength, called me tough as nails. I wasn't crying as much now. The fire was burning those tears away. Mrs. Johnson from down the hall joined too. We'd sit in the garden, her wheelchair creaking, and she'd tell me her own story. Her daughter sold her jewelry for a fancy trip, left her here with nothing but regrets. We're not done, Margaret, she'd say, her voice stronger than her hands. She had a niece at the town newspaper, someone who could write stories without naming names. Elder abuse is big news, she said. We can stir things up. Stir things up, I loved that. I told her about Clara's parties, how they were spending my money. Let's make them nervous, I said, and she grinned, her first real smile in weeks. We planned together. She'd call her niece, plant ideas for articles about families neglecting their old folks, vague enough to scare Robert and Clara without pointing straight at them. Mrs. Johnson saw my strengths in my patience. You're slow like a river, she said. Rivers carve mountains. I started exercising my body too, not just my mind. I'd walk laps in the garden when no one watched, lifting water bottles under my blanket like weights. You're looking spry, Lily said one day, and I winked. Got to be ready for the fight. The fight wasn't fists, no, it was smarter. Letters, calls, whispers that would hit them where it hurt. I used Lily's phone to call Mr. Thompson, the banker who owed me for nursing his wife years back. Margaret, what's happened? He asked, shocked. I told him, voice steady now, about the betrayal. He checked my accounts, found they'd moved money, maybe forged my name. There's still a bond they don't know about, he said. I'll hold it safe. Money they couldn't touch. That was my first real power. Every day, the fire grew. I'd lie in bed, journal under the floorboard, writing what I'd do. Gather proof of their theft, spread rumors to shake their perfect lives, hit their wallets and reputations. I pictured Robert sweating when a taxman called, Clara panicking when her friends whispered about her. I wouldn't hurt Emma or Tommy, no, but I'd make sure they saw their parents' true colors. I sent a gift to Emma through Lily, a book we loved, with a note. Grandma's thinking of you. Inside, a picture of my roses to remind her of me. The fire wasn't just anger, it was hope, strength, a promise to myself. They thought they'd won, but I was waking up, ready to burn their world down with truce and patience. That fire in my chest was burning steady now, no longer just a spark, but a flame that warmed my old bones and kept me awake, not with tears, but with purpose. I'd lie in that hard bed, the moonlight slipping through the window like a conspirator, and I'd whisper my plans to the walls, soft as a prayer, so no nurse could hear. Robert and Clara thought they'd buried me in this home, thought calling me useless would finish me, but they didn't know I was weaving a net to catch them, thread by careful thread, like the quilts I used to stitch for my family. The fire wasn't wild. It was controlled, like a lantern guiding me through the dark. Every night I'd talk to those walls, laying out my revenge step by step, each word a promise to make them regret every lie, every theft, every moment they made me feel small. Oh, they'd learn what Margaret could do when pushed too far. It started right where the fire took hold, in those quiet hours after I realized I wasn't broken. I'd clutch my journal, hidden under that loose floorboard, and write by the dim glow of a stolen penlight Lily slipped me. Proof first, I'd whisper, scratching the words. Proof of what they'd done. Stealing my money, maybe forging my name, changing my house. I knew they were spending my savings, thanks to Lily's whispers about their new car, their fancy patio where my roses used to bloom. I'd picture Clara strutting on that patio, laughing with her friends, and my hand would shake with the need to act. But I was patient. Slow, Margaret, I'd tell the walls. Slow like a river carving deep. I needed evidence, something solid to hit them with. So I started with what I had. Memories of Robert's shady deals, like the time he bragged about dodging taxes on a side job, or Clara's secret credit card I'd overheard her mention on the phone once, thinking I was too old to understand. Those were my first threads. I'd whisper to the walls about my allies, the ones feeding that fire. Mr. Hale, the lawyer with his sharp mind, he'd taught me about anonymous complaints, social services, tax boards, even the labor department, he'd said over checkers, his voice low so the other residents wouldn't hear. File without a name and they'll dig. I wrote that down. Call the tax man about Robert's under-the-table workers at his factory. I knew about them because he'd complained once, years ago, about how hard it was to keep it quiet. Stupid, Robert, I'd mutter to the walls. You told me too much. I planned to have Lily mail a letter, typed so no one could trace my handwriting, hinting at his company's tricks. Not enough to point to me, but enough to make his boss sweat, maybe audit the books. Oh, I could see Robert's face, red and panicked when the question started. That was step one. Shake his job, his pride. Lily was my eyes outside, my sweet girl who hated betrayal as much as I did. I'll do anything, Mrs. Margaret, she'd said, her eyes fierce one night when she brought me tea. I told her about the phone she'd given me hidden in my drawer and how I'd use it. Call old friends, I whispered to the walls, like Mrs. Patel next door. Mrs. Patel, bless her, loved to talk. I'd ring her late when the home was quiet and ask about the house. They're remodeling, Margaret, she'd say, her voice sad. New windows, new paint, all with your money, I bet. My money! I'd grit my teeth, whispering back to the walls. Freeze their funds. Mr. Hale had told me I could file a lien on the house, since my name was still on the deed. It'll stop them selling or borrowing, he'd said. I wrote that down too. Contact a lawyer friend, someone far enough away they wouldn't connect to me. I'd have Lily find one, maybe through her cousin who knew people. The walls heard it. Lock their house, make it a cage like this room. Clara was next in my sights. Her vanity was her weakness, always needing her friends to fawn over her. I'd heard from Mrs. Patel about Clara's parties, how she'd post pictures online, showing off my house like it was hers. She's lying to everyone, I'd whisper, my voice tight. I planned to spread whispers too. Not lies, but truths stretched just enough. Like her late nights with Mr. Dawson, the neighbor. Was it an affair? I didn't know, but I'd heard enough to suspect. I'd have Lily drop hints at the beauty salon Clara loved, where tongues wagged fast. Heard Clara's been out late, Lily would say, casual, to the stylist who'd spread it like wildfire. I'd smile in the dark, telling the walls, let her friends talk, let her squirm. A scandal, even a small one, would hit her hard, make her perfect life crack. I wrote it in my journal. Whispers to ruin her shine. The children, Emma and Tommy, I'd protect. I'd never hurt them, but I'd use them gentle like to twist a knife. I whispered to the walls about sending more gifts, like that book for Emma with my note. Plant memories, I'd say. Make her ask why I'm gone. I'd tuck in pictures of the old house, of us planting roses together, so she'd question her parents. Why did you send Grandma away? She'd ask, and oh, how that would sting them. I told the walls, let the little ones see the truth. It wasn't cruel, it was justice. They'd feel the weight of their lies through their own children's eyes. Nights turned into weeks, each one adding to the plan. I'd pace my room 3 steps one way, 3 back, whispering every step. Proof, whispers, strikes. Proof meant documents, bank records, deeds. Lily mailed requests for me, using a friend's address so nothing came back here. Mr. Hale helped draft them, legal but vague. You're a natural, Margaret, he'd say, chuckling. I'd whisper back to the walls, natural at justice. Strikes meant action. Cutting off utilities still in my name, like the water or electric. Mr. Thompson, the banker, said he could help flag accounts, make it hard for them to borrow. They've got loans in your name, he told me one night on the phone. Forgery. That was a big thread in my net. I'd whisper, sue for fraud, but later, first make them sweat. Mrs. Johnson's niece was another piece. Articles, I'd tell the walls. Headlines about elder abuse, no names, just enough to scare them. I'd have Mrs. Johnson call her. Suggest a story about families pushing out their old folks, using my case, but hiding me. Robert and Clara would read it, wonder if it was them, lose sleep. I'd laugh soft, imagining Clara's face, her perfect makeup smudging with worry. The walls heard it all, my plans growing like a tapestry, each thread tight and strong. I'd whisper risks, too. What if they traced a letter? What if Lily got caught? But I was careful, using payphones when I could, having Jose, the delivery man, drop envelopes in town. No traces, I'd tell the walls. One stormy night, thunder shaking the home, I felt the plan solidify. I whispered it whole. Freeze their money, spread rumors, hit their jobs and friends, then face them when they're weak. I'd show up strong, not useless, and make them beg forgiveness. The walls seemed to nod, the storm echoing my heart. I slept better dreaming of victory, not pain. They'd betrayed me, but I was rising, my whispers turning to plans, my plans to power. Those nights of whispering to the walls, dreaming of victory, they lit a fire in me that didn't flicker no more. It burned steady, bright, and oh, it felt good to feel alive again. I wasn't just planning in the dark now. I was building something real, something strong, and I knew I couldn't do it alone. My plans were like a quilt, each piece needing others to hold it together. And that's when I started finding friends. Real friends, not just folks to pass the time with. These were people who looked at me, old Margaret with her gray hair and slow walk, and saw the fighter underneath, the woman Robert and Clara thought they'd crushed. They saw my strength before I fully trusted it myself, and their belief fed that fire until it roared, making me feel like I could take on the world, or at least take back what was mine. Right where those dreams of victory left off, I woke one morning with a new kind of energy, like the storm from the night before had washed away the last of my doubts. I tucked my journal back under the floorboard, the one with every step of my plan. Proof, whispers, strikes, and I knew I needed more hands to pull it off. First was Mr. Hale, the lawyer with eyes like a hawk who'd been helping me from the start. I'd shuffle to his room after breakfast when the nurses were busy, and we'd sit by his little table, pretending to read old magazines. Margaret, he'd say, his voice low, you're not just fighting for you. You're fighting for all of us here. Us. That word hit me hard. He told me more about his own betrayal. His son sold his law firm out from under him, left him in this home with nothing but memories. I see your fire, he said, tapping his temple. You're planning something big and I'm in. In? Oh, that made my heart leap. He started writing letters for me, official-looking ones but anonymous, like complaints to the tax board about Robert's company. They'll audit him, he whispered, his pen scratching. No trace to you. I told him about Robert's under-the-table workers, how he'd bragged about saving money that way. Perfect, Mr. Hale said, grinning. That's a violation they'll jump on. He saw my strength, called me the general, and it made me stand taller like I was young again, leading a charge. Then there was Lily, my sweet nurse, who'd already given me that burner phone hidden in my drawer. She'd come by at night after her shift, bringing me a warm blanket or a cookie she'd snuck from the kitchen. Mrs. Margaret, you're tougher than anyone I know, she'd say, sitting on my bed, her ponytail swinging. I told her more, opened up about the pain, how Robert's words, useless, cut me deeper than anything. Her face got hard, like she felt it too. My boyfriend did me dirty like that, she said, her voice shaking. Took my savings and ran. I hate people like your son and Clara. Hate was a strong word, but it bonded us. I showed her my journal, just the parts about the bank accounts, the house. She gasped. They forged your name. That's illegal. Illegal. Another weapon. She promised to be my legs outside, to drive to town, mail letters, make calls from payphones so no one could trace them. I'll visit your old street, she said. Talk to neighbors, see what they're saying. She saw my strength and my patience, how I didn't rush but planned careful. You're like a chess player, she said, smiling. Checkmate's coming. That made me laugh. Soft so no one heard, but it felt good. Mrs. Johnson, with her creaky wheelchair and fierce eyes, became my next ally. We'd sit in the garden away from the nurses under a scraggly tree that barely gave shade. I'd tell her about Clara ripping out my roses, about the patio they built with my money. Her hands shook not just from arthritis but anger. My daughter did me like that, she said, her voice low. Sold my jewelry for a cruise, left me here. We shared that pain, like sisters almost, and it made us strong together. She had a niece at the town newspaper, someone who loved a good story. We can plant articles, she said, her eyes gleaming. Not naming them, but close enough to make them nervous. I loved that. I told her to call her niece, suggest a piece about elder abuse in our town, hinting at families who push out their old folks for money. Make it general, I said, but let Robert and Clara read it and sweat. Mrs. Johnson nodded, her smile sharp. You're a force, Margaret. Slow, but unstoppable. Unstoppable, that word stuck with me, fed the fire. I reached out beyond the home too, careful, using that burner phone. I called Aunt Beatrice, my late husband's sister, who lived 2 towns over. We hadn't talked in years, but she answered quick, her voice warm. Margaret, what's wrong? I told her everything. Robert's betrayal, Clara's greed, the house they stole. She gasped, then got mad. That boy needs a reckoning, she said. Beatrice ran a small law firm with her son, and she offered help, free. Pro bono, she called it. I told her about Mr. Hale's ideas. Liens, lawsuits, complaints. We'll file them, she said. No one will know it's you. She found out Clara had a credit card in my name, racking up debt. Forgery again. I told the walls that night. Another thread in the net. Beatrice saw my strength. Said, you're a warrior, like our mother was. That made me cry. But not sad tears, proud ones. Even Jose, the delivery man who brought supplies Tuesdays, joined my cause. I'd chat him up in the hall, smiling sweet, mentioning my family troubles. His face got soft. My abuela's in a place like this, he said. It's not right. I asked small at first. Drop a letter in a town mailbox, no questions asked. He agreed, and soon he was my courier, carrying envelopes to Robert's office, Clara's club, letters with clippings about elder rights, warnings like, justice comes slow but sure, harmless but chilling. Jose grinned one day, handing me a bag of apples. You're sneaky, abuela, he said. Sneaky? Oh yes, and it felt powerful. These friends, they saw me, really saw me. Not the frail old lady the nurses patted on the head, but the woman with a fire burning, planning a reckoning. We'd meet quiet, garden benches, Mr. Hale's room, late-night talks with Lily, sharing ideas. Lily printed articles about revenge, legal tricks. Mr. Hale reviewed them, drafted more letters. Mrs. Johnson fed gossip to her niece. Beatrice filed papers from afar. Jose delivered. Together we built my plan. Financial hits first. Freeze their accounts with complaints. Then social, rumors to shake their circle. Then personal, face them when they're weak. They saw my strength. Said I gave them hope for their own fights. You're leading us, Mr. Hale said once. And I felt like a queen. The fire grew with every ally, every nod, every whispered promise. I wasn't alone anymore. I had an army, small but fierce. They believed in me, and I believed in myself. Robert and Clara would feel that fire soon, and oh, it would burn. That fire, it was blazing now, hot and fierce with all my new friends behind me, believing in me like I was some kind of hero from the old stories my grandmother told. I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. I had my army, small but true, and we were ready to strike the first blow. Robert and Clara had no idea what was coming, thinking they'd tucked me away safe, spending my money, living in my house like kings and queens. But oh, the first step of my quiet revenge was about to hit them, slow and subtle, like a shadow creeping up before the storm. I'd whispered the plans to the walls, shared them with my allies, and now it was time to act, to make them feel the first prick of regret, the first hint that their betrayal had woken something they couldn't control. It started right where that belief in myself took hold, in the early morning light filtering through my window, making the dust dance like little sparks. I sat on my bed, journal in hand, and went over the first move. Hid their money, quiet-like, so they'd wonder what was wrong but not know it was me. Mr. Hale had drafted the letter, a complaint to the bank about suspicious activity on my accounts. Anonymous, he'd said, handing it to me in the common room, his eyes twinkling. They'll freeze things to investigate. Freeze. That word made me smile. Lily took it, promised to mail it from town. No postmark from the home. I'll do it today, she whispered, squeezing my hand. Her belief in me, calling me tough, it pushed me forward. I pictured Robert checking his bank, seeing holds on the funds, Clara's face when her card got declined at her fancy store. Oh, that was sweet, even just in my mind. The day dragged slow, but my heart raced with excitement, the fire burning brighter. I walked the halls, nodding at the nurses, playing frail, but inside I was alive, thinking of every detail. Jose, the delivery man, came that afternoon, his truck rumbling outside. I met him in the lobby, slipping him an envelope for Mrs. Patel, a note asking her to watch the house, report any changes. You're the boss, he said, winking, seeing my strength like the others. He'd drop it on his route, no trace. Back in my room, I whispered to the walls, first step, money trouble. It wasn't big, not yet, but it was the crack in their perfect world. By evening, Lily came back, her face flushed. It's sent, she said, closing my door soft. We sat together and she told me she'd stopped at the beauty salon Clara went to, chatted up the stylist. I mentioned hearing about a woman who got cheated by her family, she said. Didn't name names, but the stylist knows Clara, said she's been bragging about her new life. Bragging. That fueled me. I told Lily to keep going, plant more seeds. She nodded, her eyes fierce. For you, anything. That night, I lay awake, imagining the bank letter arriving. The phone call to Robert. Sir, there's an issue with your mother's accounts. He'd panic, call Clara, argue maybe. The first regret, small but growing. Next day, Mrs. Johnson wheeled to my room, her niece on the phone. She's writing the article, she said, handing me the receiver. The niece's voice was young, sharp. Auntie told me your story. No names, but it's powerful. Families preying on the elderly. That'll stir things. I thanked her, voice steady, but inside I was thrilled. The paper would run it soon, and Robert read it every morning with his coffee. He'd choke on that coffee, wondering if it was about him. Mrs. Johnson patted my hand. You're leading this, Margaret. We're following. Following me? That made the fire roar. Aunt Beatrice called on the burner phone, her voice crackling. We filed the lien on the house, she said. It's in process. They can't sell or refinance now. Lien. Mr. Hale had explained it. A legal hold, because my name was still on the deed. They'd get a notice soon, confusing them. Good, I said. Keep it quiet, she laughed. You're a natural strategist. Strategist, me, old Margaret. But yes, I was. I told the walls that night. Money frozen, house locked, whispers starting. The first step was unfolding, piece by piece. Days passed and the reports came in. Lily drove by the house, saw a for sale sign on a neighbor's yard. Maybe they'd try to sell mine soon, but the lien would stop that. They looked stressed, she said, from what Mrs. Patel told her. Stressed? That was music. Jose dropped another letter, this one to Robert's boss, hinting at labor violations, anonymous. Done, he said next visit. I pictured the boss calling Robert in, questions flying. The fire burned hot, but I stayed calm, patient. One night, Emma's gift arrived back. Lily had sent a doll with a note. From Grandma, who loves you. Clara returned it with a message. She doesn't need this. Returned. That hurt, but it fueled me. I whispered, they'll regret that too. The first step was working. I felt it. Oh, that returned doll from Emma with Clara's cold note saying, she doesn't need this. It stung like a slap across my face. But it didn't break me. No, it poured fuel on that fire burning in my chest, making it blaze hotter than ever. I held that doll in my hands, sitting on my bed in that cramped room, the moonlight barely touching it, and I whispered to the walls, they'll regret this. Oh, they'll regret every bit of it. My first steps were working. Lily's letters to the bank, Jose's envelopes to Robert's boss, Mrs. Johnson's niece stirring up the newspaper, Aunt Beatrice's lien on my house. They were hitting. Soft but sure, and now I could feel it like a hunter watching prey stumble. Robert and Clara were starting to wobble, their perfect life cracking, and I was watching, waiting, savoring every moment they began to fall apart, piece by piece. My revenge wasn't loud, not yet, but it was moving, and I'd make sure they felt every step of it. That morning, I tucked the doll under my mattress, next to my journal, and let the hurt turn to strength. Lily came by early, her face all lit up with news. Mrs. Margaret, it's working, she whispered, closing my door quick. She'd driven by the house again, talked to Mrs. Patel, who said Robert was yelling on the phone outside, something about the bank freezing funds. He looked mad, Lily said, her eyes wide. Mrs. Patel heard him say, how did this happen? How did it happen? Oh my boy, that was me, your useless mother, pulling strings you didn't even see. I smiled, small so Lily wouldn't think me cruel, but inside I was dancing. The bank letter Mr. Hale drafted, the one Lily mailed anonymous, it had landed. They couldn't touch my savings now, not without an investigation. And I knew Robert hated questions, hated looking weak. I told Lily, keep watching, tell Mrs. Patel to listen closer. She nodded, promising to go back, maybe drop another hint at the salon about Clara's late nights. They're talking already, she said. Her friends are asking why she's so jumpy. Jumpy. That was my doing, and it felt good. I met Mr. Hale in the common room pretending to play checkers like always. He leaned close, his voice low. Heard from a friend at the labor board, he said. They're looking into your son's company. Those workers he paid under the table? Someone noticed. Someone. Us. With Jose's letter to Robert's boss, hinting just enough to spark a review. I remembered Robert's pride, how he'd brag about running that factory, thinking he was untouchable. Now he was sweating, maybe losing sleep, and I whispered to Mr. Hale, what's next? He grinned, his old face creasing. Another letter, this time to the state. Safety violations, maybe. You know any? Oh, I did. Robert once laughed about skipping inspections to save money, thinking I wouldn't remember. I told Mr. Hale every detail, and he wrote it down, his pen moving fast. This'll keep him busy, he said. You're a force, Margaret. A force. Every time he said it, I believed it more. Mrs. Johnson wheeled up later in the garden, her eyes bright with news. My niece ran the article, she said, her voice shaking with excitement. Front page, elder abuse on the rise. Are our seniors safe? No names, but it's got people talking. She showed me a copy, smuggled in by her niece. I read it, my heart pounding. Words about families pushing out their old folks, taking their homes, their money. Robert read that paper every day. He'd see it, wonder, maybe panic. Clara, too, with her need to look perfect. They'll hate this, I said. And Mrs. Johnson laughed, a sound like breaking glass. They should. You're making them pay. Pay, that word stuck with me. I told her to have her niece write another, maybe about forged documents, hinting at what Clara did with that credit card in my name. Keep it vague, I said, but close enough to scare them. She nodded, seeing my strength like the others, calling me a lion in a lamb's skin. Aunt Beatrice called on the burner phone that night, her voice steady but thrilled. "The lien's active," she said. "They got a notice today. Can't borrow or sell the house without clearing it. My house, still mine, now a trap for them." I pictured Clara's face. Her plans for a bigger remodel stopped cold. "They'll fight it," Beatrice said, "but it'll take months. Months of worry, of lawyers' fees eating their money. My money." I thanked her, my voice calm but my heart racing. "More to come," I whispered after hanging up, telling the walls they're feeling it now. Piece by piece. Lily brought more news the next day. Mrs. Patel saw Clara arguing with a bankman at their door. "She was yelling about fraud," Lily said, mimicking Clara's high-pitched voice. "Fraud! Oh, the irony since they'd forged my name." I told Lily to send another gift to Emma, a locket this time, with a picture of us inside. "Right, Grandma's always with you," I said. Clara might return it again, but Emma would see it first. Ask questions, make them squirm. "She's asking about you," Lily said, from Mrs. Patel's gossip. "Says she misses her grandma." That hurt, but it fueled me too. I'd make sure Emma knew I wasn't gone, not useless. Jose came Tuesday, his grin wide. "Dropped another letter," he said, handing me a bag of soap like it was nothing. This one went to Clara's women's club. A clipping about family betrayal with a note. "Who's hiding secrets?" Harmless, but it'd stir whispers. "They're gossiping already," he said, from what he heard in town. Clara's friends, her precious circle, turning on her. That was my doing. I thanked him, my voice soft, but inside I was cheering. The walls heard it that night. They're cracking, falling apart, and I'm just starting. Every day, I watched through my ally's eyes. Lily said Robert's car wasn't at the house some nights. Maybe staying late at work, fighting fires I'd started. Mrs. Patel said Clara canceled a party, too stressed. The newspaper ran another story, this one mentioning suspicious financial moves by local families. Mr. Hale got word the labor board was scheduling an inspection. Beatrice said the bank was digging deeper, asking Robert for proof he didn't steal. Piece by piece, their world was unraveling, and I sat in my room, fire burning, watching it all. They called me useless, but I was tearing them down, quiet and sure, and oh, it felt like justice already. That fire in my chest was a bonfire now, roaring high as I watched Robert and Clara's world crumble, piece by piece, just like I'd planned in those dark nights, whispering to the walls. They'd called me useless, locked me away in this home with its medicine smell and cold floors, thinking they'd won. But oh, they were wrong. I sat in my room, journal open under the moonlight, feeling their distress like a song I'd written, each note a hit from my quiet revenge. The bank froze their accounts. The labor board was sniffing around Robert's job. Whispers spread through Clara's precious friends. And my house, their stolen prize, was locked tight with Aunt Beatrice's lien. They were falling apart, and I was the one pulling the strings, my allies carrying out every step, while I stayed hidden, strong, unstoppable. Now it was time for the final blow. The moment they'd see me, face me, and regret every cruel word. I'd have my victory, they'd feel their shame, and I'd find my peace at last. Right where their world was cracking, I got the call from Lily that morning, her voice shaking with excitement. "Mrs. Margaret, it's bad for them," she said, slipping into my room before breakfast. She'd been to town, talked to Mrs. Patel, who saw Robert storming out of the house, papers in hand, yelling about a bank audit. "He's got meetings all week," Lily said, her eyes bright. Mrs. Patel heard him tell Clara they might lose the car. The car? Bought with my money, my years of scrimping. I clutched my hands together, nails digging in to keep from laughing out loud. "And Clara?" I asked. Lily grinned. "She's a mess. Cancelled another party, says her friends are avoiding her." Avoiding her. Those whispers we planted at the salon. The anonymous notes Jose dropped at her club. They were working. Clara's perfect life, her need for everyone to love her was shattering. I whispered to Lily, "It's time to step it up." She nodded, knowing what I meant. Time to show my face, to let them know who was behind it. I met Mr. Hale in the common room. Our usual checkers game a cover for planning. "They're weak now," I said, moving a piece slow. He nodded, his old eyes sharp. "You've got them cornered, Margaret. What's the final play?" Final play. I'd thought about it for weeks, written it in my journal. Face them, but not weak, not begging. Strong like the woman I'd always been. I told him my plan. Go to the house, with Lily driving me, and confront them when they were at their lowest. No yelling, I said. Just truth. He smiled, proud. "You've already won, you know." "They're scared." Scared. Robert, who called me useless, scared of his own mother. I asked Mr. Hale to draft one last letter, a legal notice from Beatrice's firm, demanding an accounting of my stolen funds. "Send it today," I said. He promised, saying, "You're a lion, Margaret. They'll feel your claws." Mrs. Johnson wheeled up later in the garden, her newspaper copy folded tight. "Another article's out," she said, voice low. "Local businesses face scrutiny for financial misconduct. Your son's factory is mentioned, no names but close enough." I took the paper, my hands steady now, no trembling. Robert would read it, know the walls were closing in. "Tell your niece to keep pushing," I said. "One more about families facing justice." She grinned, her arthritis-twisted hands patting mine. "You're giving us all hope, Margaret. We're with you." With me, those words warmed me more than the fire. I felt it, the strength they saw, the strength I'd forgotten until they reminded me. Aunt Beatrice called that night, her voice crackling on the burner phone. "The lien's causing havoc," she said. "They tried to refinance, got denied. Clara's credit card's frozen too. Fraud investigation." Fraud! My name on that card, used without my say, now biting them back. "They're fighting," Beatrice added. Neighbors heard them yelling, Robert and Clara turning on each other. I thanked her, my voice calm but my heart racing. "It's almost time," I told her. "I'm going to see them." She paused, then said, "Be careful, but give 'em hell." Margaret. Hell, yes, that's what they'd get. Lily drove me to town the next day, on a doctor's visit excuse. We stopped at the house, my house, with its new paint and patio where my roses used to be. I sat in the car watching. Clara was outside on the phone, her face red, pacing. Robert's car was gone, probably at another meeting, fighting to save his job. I told Lily, "Take me closer." She parked down the street and I walked slow, cane in hand, but not weak. No, never weak. I knocked on the door, my heart steady like a drum. Clara opened it, her eyes wide, shocked. "Margaret!" she gasped, like I was a ghost. I looked her dead in the eyes, voice low but strong. "You called me useless, Clara. You stole my home, my money. Did you think I'd just fade away?" She stammered, tried to shut the door, but I held it open, stronger than she expected. "Where's Robert?" I asked. She said he was at work, dealing with problems. Problems I made. I stepped inside uninvited and saw my house, changed but still mine. "This isn't yours," I said. "It never was." Emma ran in then, her face lighting up. "Grandma!" she cried, hugging me tight. That hug, oh, it was worth everything. I knelt, gave her the locket I'd sent before, the one she never got. "Keep this," I whispered. "I'm always with you." Clara tried to pull her away, but Emma clung to me, asking, "Why did you go?" I looked at Clara, let the truth sink in. "Ask your mother," I said. Clara's face went white, knowing Emma would keep asking. Robert came home then, his tie loose, face haggard. He saw me, froze. "Mother?" he said like he couldn't believe it. I stood tall, no cane now. "You thought I was done, Robert. You took everything, but I took it back. I told them about the lien, the bank, the labor board, the articles, all anonymous, all me. You're losing it all," I said, "because you betrayed me." Robert tried to argue, said it was for my good, but his voice cracked. Weak. Clara was crying now, no fake tears this time. "We're sorry," she whispered, but I shook my head. "Sorry's not enough. You'll live with this." I turned to Emma, kissed her forehead. "I'll see you soon." Sweet girl. Then I walked out, Lily waiting, my heart full of victory. Back at the home, I got word from Beatrice. They settled the lien, returned my savings, afraid of more legal trouble. The factory fired Robert, caught in violations. Clara's friends shunned her, the gossip too sick. They were broken, regretting every word, every lie. I sat in my room, journal closed, fire quiet now. I'd won, not with screams but with silence, strength, justice. I looked at the moon, whispered one last time to the walls. I was never useless, and now they know. That final whisper to the walls. I was never useless, and now they know, echoed in my heart like a bell ringing clear, signaling the end of my fight and the start of something new. I sat there in my room, the moonlight soft on my hands, my journal closed for the first time in months, the fire in my chest settling into a warm glow, not raging now, but steady, like embers that could spark again if needed. Robert and Clara were broken, their lies exposed, their world cracked open by my quiet revenge. The bank audits, the labor board investigations, the newspaper articles, the lien on my house, all weaving a net they couldn't escape. They'd begged, cried, faced the truth in front of Emma, and I'd walked away strong, leaving them to choke on their regret. But victory, oh, it's a funny thing. It fills you up, but it leaves you wondering what comes next. I wasn't done living, not yet, and their ashes were still settling. I needed to see what grew from them, to make sure my peace was real, to make sure Emma and Tommy knew their grandma was more than a shadow they'd locked away. Right where that whisper faded, I woke the next morning with a new feeling. Not just peace, but purpose, like the dawn breaking after a long night. Lily came by early, her face all smiles, carrying a letter from Mrs. Patel. "They're moving out," she read aloud, her voice bubbling. "Robert and Clara, they're packing boxes saying they can't stay in that house anymore." My house! The one they stole, thinking they could erase me. I pictured Clara, her fancy dresses and cardboard, Robert loading his shiny car with what little they had left after the bank took its share. "Mrs. Patel says the neighbors are talking," Lily went on. "They know it was about you, even if no one says it." I nodded, my hands steady now, no trembling. The fire had done its work, but this news, it was like rain after a blaze, washing everything clean. "What about Emma and Tommy?" I asked, my heart catching. Lily softened. "Emma's been asking for you. Mrs. Patel heard her tell a friend, Grandma's coming back." Coming back. Those words wrapped around me like a hug, and I knew I had to see her. Not just to hold her, but to show her what strength looked like. I called Aunt Beatrice that afternoon, using the burner phone, my voice calm but eager. "They're leaving the house," I told her. She laughed, sharp and proud. "You did that, Margaret. The lien, the fraud claims, they're scared of more lawsuits." Scared. Robert, who called me useless, running from his own mother's shadow. I asked her to push one last thing, a legal notice to return the house to me full and clear. "It's yours by right," she said. "We'll make it official." I thanked her, picturing my roses or where they used to be, waiting for me to plant them again. I whispered to myself later, back to my home, back to my life. The walls didn't need to hear it now. This was for me. Mr. Hale met me in the common room, our checkers bored out but untouched. "You've won, Margaret," he said, his old eyes twinkling. "But what's next?" Next? I hadn't thought past the victory, but now it was clear. Rebuild, not just for me, but for others like us. I told him about the house, how I'd get it back. "Good," he said, "but don't stop. Use this to help others. Help others." Those words sparked something new. I thought of Mrs. Johnson, of all the folks in this home, forgotten by their families. "Maybe I'll start something," I said. "A group, a voice for us." He nodded, proud. "A general, like I said." I smiled, feeling that fire flicker. Not for revenge now, but for something bigger. Mrs. Johnson wheeled up later, her newspaper tucked under her arm. "They're calling you a legend in town," she said, grinning. "No one knows it's you, but they're talking. Someone fought back, made a family pay. A legend. Me, old Margaret, who they'd call useless." I laughed, soft, and told her my new plan. A group for elders to fight for our rights, to make sure no one else got locked away like us. "I'm in," she said, her voice strong despite her shaky hands. "My niece can write about it, get the word out." I nodded, picturing headlines. "Seniors fight back, not about revenge, but justice. Real justice." I felt peace then, real peace, knowing my fight wasn't just for me anymore. Lily took me to see Emma that weekend, another doctor's visit excuse. We drove to the house, my house now half empty with boxes outside. Emma ran out, her hair in braids, and threw her arms around me. "Grandma, you're here," she cried, and I held her tight, tears coming but happy ones. "I'm never leaving you again," I whispered. Clara watched from the porch, her face pale, no fight left. Robert was inside, packing, silent. I didn't need to say more to them. Their eyes showed the regret, heavy and raw. I gave Emma a new book, one we'd read together, and said, "We'll plant roses again, you and me." She nodded, smiling, and I knew she'd carry my strength, not their lies. Back at the home, I started organizing. I talked to Mr. Hale about legal steps, to Mrs. Johnson about her niece's articles, to Lily about spreading the word. Jose promised to carry flyers, and Beatrice offered her firm's help. We call it Silver Strength, a group for old folks like us, to fight for our homes, our money, our dignity. The fire wasn't gone. It was just burning different now, lighting a path for others. Robert and Clara moved away, shamed, their lives small now. I got my house back, planted new roses with Emma, and every night I looked at the moon. No more whispers needed because I'd found my peace. I was never useless, and now the world knew it too.